Welcome to In Pursuit of Truth. This is your host, Sir Patrick Mack. Ladies and gentlemen, don't believe everything you see on the TV. It's all smoke and mirrors. Now you see it, now you don't. And speaking of see it, if you don't want to see it, I suggest that you avert your eyes, because today we're going to talk about some rather adult themes. So if you got kiddies in the room, I want to let you know, because we do need to talk about this stuff, and it's really important stuff, and we do need to see it. So let's move on to 3405, where we last left you, 3 minutes after the hour of 12. We've got this horrible picture right here, and yes, I am going to show it to you. You need to at least see it once. It's a terrible thing. It's a man cleaning up some aborted babies. We'll talk about this picture in just a second, but let's go ahead and get that out of there. Reality is hard to swallow. Fake news keeps you asleep, sheep, and fixed in a pre-designed false reality narrative. Google altering search results to support the pre-designed narrative and make harder for one to learn the truth. Yeah, and I would argue it's not just Google; it's all the different tech giants. And oddly enough, even DuckDuckGo was altering their search results, particularly in relation to the whole idea with Epstein. Just about every picture that you find now is Epstein with Trump. Of course, that's the only connection that they want to make, and we all know what that's trying to do. It's trying to influence a narrative, right? Those with influence who challenge the narrative are banned, shunned, threatened, ... Yeah, and I think we all know a lot about that. Planned Parenthood is good. Yeah, it's always kind of been presented as sort of a community service, right? Narrative. China is not a threat narrative. We know better than that, right? Do you know the market price for a fetus? Yeah, look, out there in China, the fetus is used for, the placenta is used for a lot of different things, skincare. Some people feel it's kind of a fountain of youth thing or whatever. It's quite disgusting, but there's a market for it. And, obviously, this topic is a tough one to talk about. It's a tough one to deal with. But it's something that's not just happening in the U.S. It's happening worldwide. It's at epidemic levels, particularly in China, really Southeast Asia in general. Do you know the market price for a fetus? I don't know. I'll bet it's high. I'll bet it's real high, because obviously skincare in Southeast Asia and Asia in general is super important. And so that's sort of a premium from that. And that's what it's used for, sadly enough. Correlation of market price and days old of fetus baby. Well, if you guys remember the issue with STEMX, a group called STEMX, they were caught FedExing baby parts in FedEx, and this is just creepy stuff. It's happening all over the world, but this drives up a big market, and that's why we're talking about what we're talking about, and that's why it is so important that we deal with this Planned Parenthood issue, so that people can really understand what this is all about. This is not about a woman's right to choose. This is something so much more sinister. As days increases, so does the value. And that's kind of the key, right? Then we get this link to Fox News here. Dems block Born Alive bill to provide medical care to infants who survive failed abortions. Senate Democrats on Monday blocked a Republican bill that would have threatened prison time for doctors who don't try saving the lives of infants born alive during failed abortions, leading conservatives to wonder openly whether Democrats were embracing infanticide to appeal to left-wing voters. All prominent Democratic 2020 presidential hopefuls in the Senate voted down the measure, including Bernie Sanders of Vermont, Kamala Harris of California, Cory Booker of New Jersey, Kristen Bilderbrand of New York, Amy Klobuchar of Minnesota, and Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts. Well, the usual suspects, right? And this is not going to help their run. But this is really incredibly disturbing. And this is why. This is what it was. The Born Alive Abortion Survivors Protection Act would have required that any healthcare practitioner present at the time of birth exercise the same degree of professional skill, care, and diligence to preserve the life and health of the child as a reasonably diligent and conscientious healthcare practitioner would render to any other child born alive at the same gestational age. Well, that seems humanitarian enough, right? That's kind of what it's all about. And they're voting against this sort of thing. They want to protect this sort of thing. Infanticide is sort of a thing, and we all know why, right? Because some of that top Hollywood elite wants some of those failed abortions for their own little products and for their own little you-know-what. Not going to go way into that. Q says, Democrats block Born Alive bill. Well, of course they do. Planned Parenthood political donations. Yeah, they give tons of donations to the Democratic Party, and then in turn, they make sure that taxpayers give all sorts of donations to different slush funds that lead back to Planned Parenthood. Imagine that. What party? Well, that's the Democrats. Do you believe this has anything to do with the women's right to choose? No, because I suppose if that were the case, then we'd have a lot easier time talking about this kind of stuff, but that's not what the real world is. Q says, welcome to the real world. Now, in regards to that picture, let me turn you on to a little thread here from Q Revere, who said, I just witnessed a cleanup job by the Department of Truth. First, the pic. These are the two grabs of the same link 1 hour apart. I also took a pic of the properties of the pic on the right just after I took this comparison. They are about an hour apart. Here's the link used. And these are two different links talking about the source pic that we were just looking at there. And then this seems to show that they were created in July, which is very odd. We'll talk about those articles in just a second. Now the story. Asked what I thought of Q's post of the fetus pic, I went to the boards and saw Anon had posted an archived link he said he got from Snopes Crumbs. This article is dated 3/29/18. Okay, and this is a Vietnamese article. I got suspicious because I had done a reverse image search that showed 18 results, with the oldest appearing on April 12, 2018, over 2 weeks after this article, which is supposed to be the source of the image, is dated. Okay, so it looks like they might have been using this picture either out of context or who knows. I don't know how to verify internet publication dates, and I don't speak read or write Vietnamese, so I clicked on the first hyperlink in the article. It took me here. I don't know about you, but I have a hard time accepting this story was published during the Vietnam War. Vietnam War? What are you talking about? Oh my goodness! It's dated January 1st, 1970. That's very, very strange. And you can see that it has 0 likes and I don't know how many shares. So interesting. While sharing this on the Q Research board and other social media platforms, something interesting happened. The link stopped working. Yeah, surprise, surprise, surprise. About 25 minutes later, it started working again, but this time the date was fixed and perhaps a fresh coat of paint was thrown in, and we see the article again. I went to Snopes' article and noticed it was published on April 30th, 2018. In the article, it discusses a pic that went viral on April 18th. Again, tineye.com says the article first appeared on 4/12 under an Instagram collection, #MedInPicBon. And this is a lady talking about a man in Rio. And I don't believe that to be a man in a Rio, but we're going to talk about all that in just a second. I'm not up on Asian publishers, so I could use some help. IPOT 1776. Why does a year-old article have 0 Facebook likes? If Facebook isn't commonly used, why have the button on the page? Well, because all I could tell you is that at least out in communist and socialist countries, none of that stuff matters, especially with a group like Facebook. All that stuff, it just gets immediately censored. There's no laws against that, so they're just going to go ahead and do that. There are other articles in English about this do-gooder, but they're all after this article. Do they all trace back to the article? If the article gets translated to English because the story is that good, why isn't it found elsewhere? So these are good questions, Q Revere, and I'm afraid that I don't have all the answers for you. And you asked down here about the tattoos. I wouldn't tell you to completely not worry about them, but they don't look suspect to me at all. And I want to point something out. These are the articles right here from MDEP Vietnam, and this is the other one right here. And today, ladies and gentlemen, you are in luck. Not a lot of luck, just a little bit of luck. I speak a little bit of Vietnamese. I speak a little bit of Chinese too, but I can't read it as well as I can read Vietnamese. But I can read a bit of this article, and just to show you that I am not screwing with you, I'm going to read you the title here, and you native speakers can crap all over my terrible Vietnamese. Phá thai ở nơi không được cấp phép dễ mang họa vì nguy hiểm khẩn kể, which basically means without a place to for these women to go out there in Vietnam, they may need to resort to dangerous kinds of alternatives. They use the term proximities, but I think kind of meaning alternatives for them to go. In the article, we're not going to cover the whole article, but it goes on to say really what an epidemic it is out there in Vietnam. 200 to 350,000 that they know of a year. It's really, really, really sad. And a lot of times because, these women are raped or whatever, or they live in these rural areas and they've got really no other alternatives. So they find these dangerous alternatives, hence the title there. And then this article is really talking about, even though they don't have the picture of the man in the picture, they just have that right there. But this is from a publication called Phụ nữ trẻ, which means like beautiful young woman. And the title says, Người đàn ông xăm trâu bắt cóc khi nhặt được cặp tay như xin đòi 29 thuần trong đêm khuya, which would mean... they're talking about the man. His name's Kung, and up until now he lived in Hanoi, and he's kind of one of his responsibilities was finding these kids and cleaning them up and giving them a proper burial. And this was the accompanying picture that I originally found, that they were basically, he would dress them up in some clothes and give them like a proper Christian burial. That's what the article's talking about, and how difficult it is for him and his group of friends that do this, family that go around and do this. Now, in regards to what you had to say, Q Revere, I don't really know. Q was implying in the post that, there's a massive demand for this. I'm not so sure that this man in the picture could be linked to that. It seems to me that there's some caretaking there, at least in the picture. I don't want to damn this man for that. Now, is this person really somebody that's cleaning them up for sale? I don't really know, but according to these publications, he's part of a group that goes around and buries them, and that, like I said, that picture accompanying it was to kind of suggest that. So I honestly couldn't tell you. I wouldn't be surprised if Q was just using the picture so that we could see how horrific it looks in general, so we could understand the problem, not so much to cast aspersions on the person in the picture. But that's just my take on it. If anybody finds anything else in relation to that, you guys can let me know. But hopefully that was helpful to you. Hopefully that helps answer at least some of your questions, Q Revere. Sorry I couldn't do much more. But sadly, I can only read about 75 Chinese words right now. I'm still learning. I know those 3 aren't one of them, so don't really know. So it's a terrible picture. This looks to me to be Vietnam. That would be my guess. And now that I'm thoroughly creeped out and you're thoroughly creeped out, let's move on to 3406. 10 minutes after the hour of 12, we get this link right here to Twitter. And it takes you to the Epoch Times. Unchallenged allegations of a DNC computer hack permeated nearly all media coverage and were sprinkled throughout much of the Mueller report. But analysis of the files themselves shows otherwise, and it gives you this article right here. The Mueller investigation failed to provide evidence that the DNC was actually hacked. In 2017, a memorandum was sent to the White House from a group of former U.S. intelligence officials, including William Binney, former technical director at the NSA. The team was a veritable who's who of accredited technical wizards, comprising former top brass from the MSA, CIA, U.S. Air Force Intelligence, Defense Intelligence Agency, National Intelligence Council, Senate Foreign Relations Committee, and IBM. The subject of the memo was their forensic analysis of the emails that were allegedly obtained from a hack at the Democratic National Committee, a basis for assertions that the campaign of then-candidate Donald Trump colluded with the Russian government. Unchallenged allegations of a computer hack permeated nearly all mainstream media coverage of the investigation and were sprinkled throughout much of the final report from special counsel Robert Mueller. The indictment of 12 Russians by Mueller asserts that the emails were obtained through a remote network breach. The indictment drones on and on about a Russian military unit dubbed Unit 26165 and ex-agent malware that supposedly allowed the DNC emails to be compromised. All right, well, anybody who's been paying attention to QAnon or my channel or anything like it knows that this isn't true, and this is what it says right here. What was revealed through forensic analysis of the emails was that they were copied at speeds too high to have been hacked and transmitted over the internet. The metadata indicates that the emails had to have been copied locally by someone who had physical access to the network, to some sort of mobile hard drive or flash drive. And I want to point out that that would be probably one Seth Rich, yeah? And incidentally, it was Eric Holder who was just recently tweeting about our disrespect towards Seth Rich. Binney and former CIA and State Department counterterrorism officer Larry Johnson wrote in a report that the highest transfer rate was 49.1 megabytes per second, which is much faster than possible from a remote online connection. The 49.1 megabyte speeds coincides with the download rate for a thumb drive. Exactly. So this is really telling us kind of what we already knew, right? But let's set that aside for a moment. The report also fails to account for the CIA's Marble Framework tool, leaked to the public by WikiLeaks in its Vault 7 drop, that allows the agency to mask its hacking attacks to make it look like it came from another country, including Russia. Even if there was a hack, the only available evidence shows there wasn't. The CIA could have easily been behind it and left false digital footprints that blamed Russia. Mueller failed to address this as well. Yeah, and these are really, really big points. These are things that we don't, that we've already known, but it's good that we're starting to see this come out in the media, because this is essentially going to show how this really happened with Trump-Russia collusion, and that's probably likely why Mueller doesn't want to testify, right? Let's go ahead and move on to 3407, 29 minutes out to the hour of 12. We get taken back here to this February 11th post. And we were talking about, it looks like voting here. Only when the election harms the Democratic Party will they claim foreign interference. Keyword, foreign. But what about domestic interference? Yeah, well, we were just talking about that right there in that article, right? Why do Democrats push for no voter ID in U.S. elections? Because they want anybody to be able to go ahead and click those buttons and vote Democrat. Why do Democrats push for open borders? Because that's their voting base right there. Find the connection. Sometimes a map helps. Now, I'm not sure if we're actually talking about a map here, or if Q is tossing out the term minor attracted persons, which is a big reason why the border is such a big issue, because there's a bunch of minor attractive persons, which are basically pervs, right? Pedos. And they want to get kids through the border, right? Q says regarding border fight, worth remembering. What Supreme Court decision 6-3 ruled voter ID did not, I'm not really sure what that said right there, but we were talking about voter ID anyway. And this map right here was telling you the correlations of kind of where a lot of illegals settle and Democratic voters and whatnot. And we long know that Democrats have basically been pushing open borders so that they can get more people across the border to vote for them. Let's move on to 3408, 25 minutes after the hour 1. Q says PP, which I'm assuming is Planned Parenthood, news coming, and then we get this Breitbart link right here. From June 20th, 2019. That was my birthday. GOP senators demand DOJ update on Planned Parenthood fetal tissue probe. According to a press release, Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Graham and his predecessor Grassley, current chairman of the Committee on Finance, wrote to Barr and Ray Tuesday seeking an update on the federal investigation that was supposedly launched in 2017. Preventing the illegal sale of human fetal tissue remains a priority for the committee, the letter stated. In furtherance of the committee's ongoing oversight of this issue, the committee asked that you answer the following questions no later than July 2nd, 2019. Graham and Grassley requested answers to these questions. Number 1, has the FBI taken any action on the criminal referrals submitted by then Chairman Grassley? Number 2, if the FBI has taken action, please provide an update to the committee. Number 3, if the FBI has not taken action, please explain the justification for not doing so. And number 4, are there any other investigative updates related to this matter that the FBI can share with the committee at this time? Okay, so Q just said that some Planned Parenthood news is coming, and they wanted to get some questions no later than July 2nd, so it remains to be seen if we've gotten our answers. And I would imagine that this is suggesting that we have. In December 2017, Stephen Boyd, Justice Department Assistant Attorney General for Legislative Affairs, formally requested unredacted documents from the Senate Judiciary Committee's investigations into allegations that Planned Parenthood and its partners in biomedical companies engaged in the sale of the body parts of aborted babies for profits. Boyd wrote in the letter obtained by Fox News. The DOJ appreciates the offer of assistance in obtaining these materials and would like to request the committee provide unredacted copies. Okay, blah, blah, blah. But here's the part that I really want to show you right here. Both the Senate Judiciary Committee and the House Selective Investigative Panel on Infant Lives conducted expansive investigations into Planned Parenthood and its partners in the biomedical procurement industry. The investigations concerned allegations of the sale of fetal body parts for profit that arose from an undercover video series expose by the Center for Medical Progress led by journalist David Daleiden. Just so you know, I will leave this link for you down below. Here's the video right here. You can see it. This actually happened. This was part of an undercover undercover video that kind of like the Project Veritas stuff where they actually caught these people haggling for body parts. It's really, really terrible stuff. But this is interesting. So it looks like we're probably going to get some findings on this. And I want to point out, I mentioned this StemX company earlier. They got caught at FedEx, oddly enough. And I believe it was a FedEx employee who basically told the person, I'm not shipping this box. And the lady asked him why. He said, well, because I know what's inside it. And that's kind of what led to StemX getting busted. And of course, StemX was just another one of these biomedical companies that was getting farmed out by Planned Parenthood. So it's really, really creepy stuff. But there you go. And it looks like we're going to get some new news, pertaining to this. It won't probably be any good news, but it will be good that it's coming out because this is a big, big point of contention amongst probably people all around the world. I know in the United States, there's a lot of people that on the liberal end that think this is simply just about a woman's right to choose, not really real. Really happy that this is finally getting exposed because the only way we'll ever be able to fix it. Let's move on to 3409, 2 minutes after the hour of 4. Smoke and mirrors. Fake news media's attempt to truncate size of movement while building up size of the opposition. Inauguration day to current. Attempts to diminish and instill a you are the minority mindset narrative continues. All right, well, all you have to do is look at a Joe Biden rally and look at a Trump rally to figure out what's really up, right? People want to believe they are part of the bigger group. Size equates to accuracy in most minds. Acceptance on the right side. Yeah, and if you're getting inundated with nothing but liberal media, you're always going to assume that you're kind of in the majority, right? One of the primary purposes of POTUS holding a rally is to demonstrate the massive appeal. Yeah, if you'll notice, he's never really ever stopped campaigning. And I think that's a brilliant tactic. And I think that that's actually going to change a lot of modern day politics. I think we're going to see a lot of different politicians, no matter what their party politics are. I think they're really going to, it's going to change a lot as far as campaigning goes, at the very least. To demonstrate the massive appeal, energy, and size of this movement, plus ability to correct false reporting and or highlight achievements, goals, etc. Yeah, it seems like, Trump sort of bloviating on just simply on all the different things that his administration has been able to achieve. But the fact of the matter is that if he's not able to blow his own horn, others will use it as a spittoon. And that's exactly what they've done, right? So, he goes on these rallies, he pumps himself up. And let's face it, that's how he's kind of came to be in the first place, even before he was POTUS. He always knew the power of that. Now he's just transferring it over into politics. And that's why I say I really think this is going to change things in modern day politics going forward. Compare and contrast. 45 rally versus any single one of the Democrats. Yeah, I think Joe Biden was having a hard time filling up a junior high stadium. What is obvious and true? Sorry, junior high gym, not a stadium. Why does POTUS mention crowd size at each and every rally? Because no one else will. What is projected by the MSM? Well, that Trump is a racist and that his followers are a bunch of bigots and we're uneducated and we shop at Walmart. Lies become truths. Truths become lies, smoke and mirrors. You are the majority. People united and awake is their biggest fear. Do you think it's a coincidence we are being attacked aggressively by some of the biggest media corporations in the world right after our return? Yeah, of course not. They started going right after Q. A few different articles from the Daily Beast. I wouldn't be surprised if the Huffington Post jumped on that. If we are simply a conspiracy or LARP or some kid living in a basement, as stated repeatedly, why do the world's largest media companies continue to dedicate so much attention and time to attacking us? Yeah, good question. It's not like we haven't had hacker groups before. It wasn't like we haven't had LARPs before. This has happened since the dawn of the internet. QAnon is a different kind of phenomenon, and there's a reason why it's stuck is because there's a lot of different coincidences that are just mathematically impossible, right? So I guess they're not really coincidences. Billion-dollar companies expending resources to stop a LARP. Billion-dollar companies expending resources to attempt to shape the mindset narrative to prevent and slow digestion of the masses. And a lot of this needs to be digested slowly, right? If this stuff is new to you, especially this gnarly stuff with Planned Parenthood, the red shoes, all this human trafficking stuff, it's going to make you incredibly angry. The fact of the matter is, at least right now, we don't have time to get angry. We got to get this stuff out. We got to be able to deal with it. And we got to deal with the fact that we are at war because people do need to know this. And so if you're outraged, I would say try and let your outrage go and get past it and get focused and let's get working. You attack those you fear the most. Why does the media rush to shape events? Because they know that they don't make them look very good if you read them for what they are. Why are the same keywords always used? Because if you, it's kind of like the term manufactured crisis. It works. And I'm sure you probably have friends in your life that are probably now calling those detention centers down at the border concentration camps, right? Because if AOC says it enough, you'll say it enough. Psych 101. If you see and hear the same thing over and over again, exactly. They don't want you thinking for yourself. They do not want you challenging their authority. Logical thinking always wins. Trust yourself always. Attacks will intensify fake news, arm of the Democratic Party. Enemy of the people, Q. Excuse me, I'm not reading very well today. Let's move on to 3410, 19 minutes after the hour of 4. Q says stealth bomber, date of first flight. Well, I believe that was July 17th, 1989. I know. Date of Mueller's testimony is going to also be July 17th, 2019. I know. Then Q goes on to give us some gematria. A, B, C, D, E, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. And then we have a B2. Well, the B2 stealth bomber. And the date of Mueller's testimony. Date of Mueller's testimony would be 17, right? 1 and 7. So I guess that would be A being 1. And the 7 would be G, like AG. Like AG William Barr. And then we have B2. B2 meaning 2 B's. Bill Barr. AG Bill Barr. I don't know, but that's what I'm getting out of it. So could Bill Barr be our stealth bomber and he's about to drop some boom, boom, booms on the 17th during Mueller's testimony? I don't really know. You know, I don't predict dates, but that seems to be what's being set up. Now, keep in mind, this information could be necessary. And just like I stated yesterday about dates, I'm always hesitant to predict that something's going to happen on a particular date, but that's what this, at least this post seems to suggest. If you've got another take on it, you can let me know, but that's what I got out of it, is that Bill Barr is our stealth bomber. Let's move on to 3411. 10 minutes after 10, you are witnessing the greatest coordinated misinformation attack campaign ever to be launched against the public, all in an effort to protect themselves from prosecution, public exposure, and regain power control. Attempted removal of the duly elected president of the United States by illegal manufactured means. They believe they could win. Con in brackets, public support by controlled assets, media, tech, Hollywood. These controlled assets set out to immediately create division through the use of a pre-design. And once again, we got that pesky little underscore right there. Misinformation campaign. Groups as Antifa were funded and formed to prevent and or lessen the appeal for regular hardworking Americans to gather and express non-narrative viewpoints. Once again with that underscore. Control of this projected narrative depends primarily on their ability to con the masses into thinking they are the majority. The mindset of most. If the majority of people believe this, then this must be more true than that. CIA class 1 through, and then we talk about usually 1 through 99, but we see some other underscores here. 99 underscore 56 underscore human underscore psych underscore and underscore emotional underscore distress underscore IIED. Without public support, they are powerless. So it looks like this is probably part of some sort of D class coming out. We the people hold the power. United we are strong. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to then shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes, and accordingly all experience has shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. You are witnessing the systematic destruction of the old guard Q. Now, in regards to that IIED, I think Q might have been referring to this intentional infliction of emotional distress, sometimes called the tort of outrage, is a common law tort that allows individuals to recover for severe emotional distress caused by another individual who intentionally or recklessly inflicted emotional distress by behaving in an extreme and outrageous way. Some courts and commentators have substituted mental for emotional, but the tort is the same. Okay, and it's also a company too, but I don't really think that that's what we would talk about. I think that's what Q would be talking about too. I wanted to point out that there was, I did already point out that there was a lot of different underscores there. It seems like there might be some other things involved here, and I noticed a lot of odd capitalization. So I'm going to go over this later, and if I get anything on it, then I will share it with you tomorrow. But there you go. Let's move on for now to 3412. We get ourselves another Leakington right here. And the link takes you here to this B-2 stealth bomber takeoff. You can check it out on your own. I'm just going to kind of skip through here to the cool guy part where it actually takes off. It's pretty sweet. It'd be pretty sweet to fly one of those things. All right, so question. If you could fly any one vehicle in our arsenal, what would you fly? Would you fly that? Would it be a fighter? Would it be an F-16? What would you fly? F-35? What would you fly? I think I'd fly one of those. Anyway, pretty sweet. There you go. There's our B-2 stealth bomber taking off. 3413, 10 minutes after the hour of 11. We get ourselves this little graphic here, and let's blow it up over here. And we see what looks to be another Q proof. Now, this is the post, the earlier post on the 10th that said stealth bomber, date of first flight, date of Mueller's testimony, da 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 da. And we see that this is the same date as this announcement right here. Lockheed awarded contract for B-2 bomber refurbishment. How about that? You were just talking about that. Lockheed Martin has received a $28 million contract for the overhaul of the B-2 stealth bomber's defense management system. And then we see this tweet here, Donald J. Trump. Thank you, Lockheed Martin, one of the USA's truly great companies. Do you believe in coincidence? Yeah, odd timing right there. Q says, well done, Anons, and well done indeed, Anons. 3414, 25 minutes after the hour of 11. Q says, only Anons can fully appreciate the continued validations, confirmations through covert series of mathematically impossible coincidences means in order to maintain structural integrity. Wheels up, meaning it looks like we are already in the sky and on the way to go. The B-2 already took off. And indeed, Anons can appreciate what's been going on. We've been watching this for a long time. Whether you're new to QAnon or not, I think at the very least, no matter what your thoughts on QAnon are, it's hard to really deny the incredible influence that has really kind of come through on these boards, whether it's through HN or leading onto these boards, and how much information that has turned over, considering that we take this information and really run with it, and likely go share it back to the media, which catches on to that. It's a really incredible time to be alive, and there's a lot of people going real hard after us right now. But this stuff is really important. It's important for people to see this. It's important for us to do our own digging and find our own truths and share that with the masses, because the mainstream media most certainly won't do this job. Looks like there might be a little code in here too. And forgive me, I've been having computer problems once again all day. So I have not had a whole lot of chance to break these down, but I am going to sit down, probably go back over this post right here. Like I said, if I find anything else out, I will let you know. But that's all I got for you for now. As always, if you like this video, please click like, share, and subscribe. And if you didn't like this video, that's okay too. All my links are down below to my Gab, my Real.video, my BitChute, my DropSpace, and I'm over here at Twitter at IPOT1776. That's IPOT1776. All those links are down below. My email is down below. My P.O. box is down below if you're old school. And if you'd like to support the channel, my Patreon link is down below also. All those links are down below. And I'll also link you that video right here to this David Daleiden, who worked for this... I can't remember what the group was right now, but the page is off of EWTN. I'll share this with you down below also. All that is down below. All right, kids, this is Sir Patrick Mac. I'm going to go work more on my computer and hope that my weatherman still isn't done. All right, I'll see you guys later.